What is going on out there in podcast now? We are back. This is 3 Gen LA, formerly known as the LA Mentors. I'm Lawrence.
I'm Joelle.
I'm Cornelius.
And today we are going to find out a little more about our dear friend Joelle.
Yes, I'm excited.
How's it going, Joelle?
It's going good. It's a great day. We're alive. We're healthy.
I know, that's right.
Yeah, I hear that. So,
Got
I
a lot to
mean,
be thankful
yeah, we're good. But yeah, I'm going to give a little bit of my story today, so I'm excited to share it.
We're excited to hear it.
for. Can't wait.
Okay, so I guess I should go.
We waiting on you. You got the floor.
So I was born in Orlando, Florida. That's where kind of like, my foundation was, and that's kind of like, where we would always end up. We moved a little bit around. We lived in Vegas, we lived in Miami, but Orlando was kind of where we were at. I'm from Puerto Rico, so it was, fairly close to Florida. And yeah, so I grew up with my parents, and I have two siblings. So I have an older sister, I have a younger brother. And we were like always super, super, super close. I love them. My brother is like one of my best friends, and my sister, I love them. We like take vacations together.
That's great.
Our family kind of like always instilled that in us to like always, come back to each other and like have that relationship.
That family dynamic.
That family dynamic, yeah. And so since we moved a lot, like we were all kind of each other had. You know what I mean? And we relied on that, on those relationships to kind of like hold us over, right? Because going to different schools and stuff like that, and knowing that you're going to move all the time or thinking that or having those moments, you kind of just like, form your clique. My clique was my family. You know what I mean?
That's it.
But in terms of my coming out, which is what we're going to address today.
Yes.
That was a little bit difficult. I grew up super religious, so obviously I knew that being gay and having those feelings, right?
Right.
Weren't good. And if they were, you had to fix it.
Wasn't accepted.
No, not at all. And it wasn't something like, I know a little bit about your story, and I know that you had, relatives and stuff like that. So it was a conversation or something that you saw, but within my family, it was kind of never being gay, being homosexual was never a topic that had come up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So growing up, I didn't have like an outlet. I didn't have a person to like talk to and express myself with. So it was a little bit confusing, right? Like growing up and not being able to share those feelings. And the only thing that you have really is like a father that likes women and is attracted to women and, does things that heterosexual men do. You know what I mean? Like sports and like interests and stuff like that. And, it just wasn't a really healthy environment for me to like grow up in, It was something that I always had to suppress. And I think that suppressing that, and thinking that it's wrong is definitely not a way to like
It's not good.
grow up. Yeah. And so when I was in Orlando, I had been dating a little bit. I had been, putting myself out there. And I had received a letter to my house that was not supposed to arrive to my house from the person that I was talking to. And my mother came up to me. She thought that I was kind of like putting up for one of my siblings. So she thought that the letter was like supposed to go to one of my siblings, but to hide it, I had it delivered to myself because they didn't have the courage to have it delivered themselves. Yeah. I literally have always been that kind of brother. Like my siblings like have like they'll kill me for saying this, but like they would like sneak out and stuff like that. And they would always tell me, and I'd be like in bed at like 3 a.m. like waiting for them to come home, like, where are you at? Where are you at? Like, but so I would always cover for them. So it wasn't like, uncommon for that. But anyways, I remember my mom, giving me this letter that was addressed to me that obviously like had details about like a relationship and stuff like that, thinking that it was for somebody else. So she kind of threw my sexuality at me, and she was like, either this letter is for somebody else or it was for you, and you're gay. And I thought to myself, I was like, my mom is a Christian woman. She is never going to ask me that question directly again. And the reason that she asked me was because she thought that as a straight man, you questioning someone, your sexuality, that you would confess.
Right.
And you would be honest. You know what I mean?
Right.
It'd be like, well, if that's not the case, then you're gay. And it would make you be like, oh, no, I'm not gay.
Exactly.
You're right. Like it was for somebody else, right? So I'm like, my mom's Christian, and she's like really big on not saying stuff out loud.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I was never going to be asked that question again directly from her, like, are you gay? And I was like, this is just the moment. And I told them, and it was really rough. Like when I tell you that they were sobbing, like you could hear them crying together in the room. that was a really traumatic experience because at the end of the day, I caused that. You know what I mean? I had never seen my parents like that. And, I tried to offer them at that moment some kind of like closure, like, this is not your fault. You know what I mean? Like, this
Right.
isn't you. That's how they took it. Um, But-
in support of parents and going through that, and just maybe relatives in general, I think they feel that way so strongly because they know how hateful
yeah.
the world is and will be towards you, and they try to protect you.
I don't know. I think as like that generation is a little bit difficult because it's a lot of things. And when you throw in religion, it
That's
elevates it.
That's a
amplifies it.
W.
But there is, I mean, there's a, like my dad, thinking to himself, what did I do wrong? You know what I mean? I've heard that angle, the religion, aspect
Right.
of it. There were decisions that my parents made, like having us move so much, taking us out of certain church environments that made them think, oh my God, doing that, took them away and caused it. So it's just weird dealing with all of that energy, dealing with, people who think it's their fault, but you just want to be like, no, it's me. There's nothing you could have done.
Exactly.
And so to this day, I have issues with my identity due to that. You know what I mean? Because I live to make my parents proud, whether it's financially.
But I think that's where all of us here.
Yeah. So when you don't have that, it makes you feel like a disappointment.
So I'm wondering, did they ever come at you thinking that somebody like messed with you, or you were molested, or?
Yeah, for sure. Like that was definitely like they definitely asked those questions, which how do you guys feel about that though? Because I feel like answering those questions are so toxic to the narrative that everybody who's gay or that being gay has to come from some kind of
Yes.
assault
And
or
that is a
sexual
real
experience.
big, strong belief within Christianity.
Yeah.
Christian people.
So yeah,
I
they
think,
have
all gay
that.
people got molested.
Yeah, which is
That's
really
what-
bad. Like it's
Well, I'm here to tell you, I was never molested. I'm just gay.
Okay.
yeah. Well, I was never molested either. I was never molested either.
When I
But
was created, nobody said "oops."
yeah.
So
And so to this day, I mean, it's been, when I tell you it's been hard, it's definitely very difficult because religious wise, it's wrong, and I've been a very strong at the core religious person. So to not always know what you're doing is right or how it's gonna play out in the end in terms of your salvation, your eternity, is super difficult to try and process, right? Because God isn't gonna come down himself and be like, you're fine, it's okay, be who you are. And then the people that you do trust and that you do hold close to you, which is your family, also agree with the fact that what you're doing is wrong.
right,
And it's something that you never can see yourself
it's that
changing. So.
indoctrination of society.
The funny thing about it is that when I finally came out and had that conversation with my mom, she actually pointed out and told me, was like, I don't think, I know you were born this way. She was like, because what person in their right mind would want to endure all of the stuff that's going to be thrown at you
Yeah.
as a gay man, one, and a gay black man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I remember Phil Donahue who asked that on his show one time. Anybody know Phil Donahue? But he said, "No one."
I know Phil Donahue.
Okay, cool.
Wait, who he be?
Yes, no clue. That's why we're three gens.
Right. Can y'all tell the crowd?
But he had a TV talk show, very famous, popular TV talk show. And he said that too. He said, no one would choose to be a black gay man if they
Well,
had
you
a
would,
choice.
you would think that, but so many people,
Oh, yeah.
my family thinks that ultimately it really is a choice. It's either a choice. I'm sorry. Yeah, it is a choice. So it's either a choice subconsciously or consciously, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
And so, like, regardless, it's your duty to get out of it. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it's something you're continuing to choose to do and act on.
And you're trying to figure out who left you in charge.
But the thing about
to be born.
even if that is the case, and we consider it a sin, we all have our own sin. So what makes your sin any
better
greater or
or
better
yeah.
than mine? You know
Well,
what I'm saying?
The
sentence.
argument is that, let's say a thief or someone who does drugs, they do it. It's not necessarily like they're signing up for a life of that. And there is a time where you can redeem yourself, right, and not be a thief and not do drugs. But in terms of being gay, when you're committing to having kids and getting married and really saying this is how I'm going to live for the rest of my life, you're not addressing the fact that it's a problem or a sin, and you're not trying to fix it, or there's no road to recovery. It's something you're literally signing away for the rest of your life.
So you said something very, very interesting. Why are you trying to fix me?
Right. If I'm not.
Why is anybody trying to fix anybody?
Because it's a sin. When you address it as a sin, it's something you're not supposed to do. It's something you're supposed to,
You know who said it is a sin? Besides somebody.
So committing adultery is a sin. As
Stealing,
yeah, but people
stealing, killing.
Yeah, but do people does the average person really try to be an adulterer or try to be a thief?
Many do.
Or is it just circumstances they fall in and they just end up doing it? You know what I mean?
We-
And then they go to jail.
we can go on days and days about this because if you
choice,
you know what exactly because if you're a Christian and you put in a position to commit adultery, you're making that decision that you can't come back from because once the act is done, it's done.
And I remember my pastor's wife used to say once, she said people would always say, well, in counseling, they said, well, it just happened. She said, oh, it just happened. You just happen to call the motel. You just happen to set a time. You just happen to decide to meet it there and do that. No, it doesn't just happen.
Well, it just happened that I'm gay.
Yeah, right.
So going back to my situation.
Go for it.
Yeah. No, but trying to bring it back, that is why I struggle. Because the only thing I want to ever do is make my mama proud. And if you were to ask my mom right now, are you proud of your son? She would say absolutely. But it's something deeper than that I need to feel. You know what I mean? It's like I know 100% that she wishes things were different and that she wished better and more for me. And the fact that I can't get her those things, it really bothers me. So it's something that we're working on. We're working on being in a space where, we can have those conversations because a lot of this stuff I carry myself.
I was going to ask you to talk about it. Do you and her
we talk about it, but
around it.
One thing I respect about my mom and my parents and religious people is that they're so secure about where they stand, and they can say,
at least they think they are,
and they can say, you know what, I'm gonna live my life like this, and I'm gonna have eternal salvation. And I'm over here like, what am I doing? Do I move here? Do I move there? And that peace that they have is admirable to me. So who am I to tell my mom, hey, you change your opinions to suit me when I'm trying to tell you the same thing? It's like, who's going to budge? Who's going to, so I just have to leave, you with your thoughts and your feelings. I don't want to change your road to heaven.
So,
you know what I mean?
But
I
vice versa.
Because if she changes the way she feels, then she's going against what God says, and that in itself to her is not doing a service to God.
But are they going against God's will anyway by not choosing to love regardless?
They love me.
And I get what you're saying because
unconditionally, my parents love me. Don't get
because
it.
The thing about it is that I still have those internal fights, even though my mom knows about me. We had the conversation. She tells me every day she's proud of me, but it's still something deep inside of me that says, you know what can I do to make? And maybe that's why my drive, and maybe that's why I'm so, I just got to
be successful.
Trying to make my mom proud, even though she says she's proud of me.
Yeah.
But trying to make her proud
is
of
it
me.
an internal thing where are we really proud of ourselves? Are we really proud of ourselves?
I think I'm proud. Cause me, I don't really care about what other people think about me. You know what I'm saying? But it's always there. Like, mama is my heart. Every day I'm living to try and make mama proud. You know what I'm saying? So am I doing this to make my mama proud? Even though I let everybody know I'm gay. I'm married. I got kids, and that's another thing. Like, we get into that a little bit more, but I have my kids. Or I got married, or whatever the case may be, trying to please mama.
Right?
Yeah.
So you said a whole lot right there. What is it about? Who is it really about?
Yeah, like giving her grandchildren. Like, that is such a hurt to me because I know that obviously I can't say this if I was straight, things would be different, but it would have maybe granted me the opportunity to give her that. Because I can still give her that.
Yeah.
But earlier, I have to literally watch all of her sisters, their children have kids and have wives, and her being like, I really want that, but me not being able to give her that.
The key thing is, who are we really living for? Are we living for ourselves?
We should, but in pleasing his mom, Lawrence feels better, and it feeds his soul.
But
So he wants to do
but
that.
it's still that little thing in there. So are you really, really, really comfortable in loving yourself and allowing that other person to do the same thing? Parents have to do the same thing.
Listen, with society, it's one thing, but when it comes to your family, it's just such a different.
When it comes to it,
they're a piece of you, you know.
That's true.
When my mom is sad, I'm sad. When my mom is happy, I'm happy. And let me tell you this, and I don't really want to talk about, like other people's, whatever. But anyway, so I've woken up to like my mom praying over me. I've woken up to my mom crying over me. You know what I mean? With God, and my mom will always say that she'll always, pray that God helps me figure it out. You know what I mean? And the fact that I caused my mom that pain, regardless of what you say, if it's her fault, my fault, the fact that I caused my mom pain, the fact that that breaks my heart, and it does, and the fact that I feel like that's me. If I were not gay, that wouldn't be the case. Period. That breaks my heart.
So let me ask you a question. You think your mom is ashamed of you?
No.
So
I really think as a Christian woman, she feels like my salvation is compromised. Yeah. And she doesn't want her son to eternally burn.
That's the thing I don't get with religion.
But see, the thing with me was that I felt for the longest that my mom would be ashamed of me.
They're not ashamed. They love me. They
My
support
mom
me.
loves me, but when it comes to like her friends and stuff, like I always felt like my mom would be the eyeball. You know what I'm saying? Like she would have to defend me. Your son is gay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I took myself out of that equation
For sure.
so she could be happy and she wouldn't have to have those battles and stuff.
I've done
It's
that.
all about growth.
I've done that too. Like I have not had conversations with any of my aunts, with any of my uncles, with any of my, because I didn't want. I'll tell you this much on Facebook once. One of my aunts, girl, she went crazy after a while. She exposed my sexuality. She decided to talk ill about my family on Facebook. So I told her, don't talk about our family. Like, keep it off of Facebook. And she said,
exactly.
She was like, well, you shouldn't tell me what to do because you've been all around town and people know that you're gay and stuff like that. And I never even spoke to her. I've never spoke to any of my family about it. So for her to post that and that guilt of my aunts reaching out to my mom, something she had never spoken about with them, and her having to address it, and like you said, maybe be embarrassed or ashamed. Like, that's the reason I never told any of my family. I didn't want her to have those awkward moments. Yeah, and have to fend for me.
I
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. But then it takes individual growth. It takes a person to get there. And one of the things that I want everybody out there to understand is that you're on your own journey, but we want to let you know you're not going through this alone.
Exactly.
Like we have been there. Like, I've been there, and I'm at that point in my life now where I have to live for me.
Exactly.
But you still live for
and that's key. I
do live for my mom for a little bit. a little bit of me is
Right.
still there living for mom, but the majority of me is me making me happy. Because when I was living for family and friends and trying to keep my mother from being ashamed of me, so I thought I was not happy, and I was spiraling down a dangerous road. You know what I'm saying? So when you wake up and you say, no,
and my
I
advice
just have
to
a
people,
problem with the whole religious or the whole Christianity thing. If you're that deep into Christianity,
it should be about love.
It should be
feel the
about
love,
and you should be able to give it, receive it, and just it's your journey too. It's their journey. It's their growth. It's something we all have to.
And my advice to you guys out there is to, don't jump the gun a lot of the times. Have conversations, try and push boundaries, try and bring up conversations, because, a lot of things I assumed of my parents, or you did it because you thought your mom would be ashamed. My mom will fight and defend me till the grave. You know what I mean? If anybody has a problem with what I'm going through. But, I remember talking to her once and I was like, it bothers me that every night that you're praying, that God takes me out of this place that I don't even want to get out of. It's like I'm praying to have a healthy relationship with Cornelius and get married and have kids, and she's over there. My mama is over there praying that
praying against my happiness.
And I told her I was like, I'm upset that you would never go to my wedding. And she's like, who said I wouldn't go to your wedding? And I'm like, I fed myself that, and that was not, for no reason, because it's not true. And who knows? We don't know.
And that same
when I
thing
send the
that-
save the day, we'll see. But the fact that she would just say that was like, oh wow, like there's, don't just think, have the conversations with your parents, challenge them, and sure, once you get that response, you can realize this might not be a good thing to bring up again, but at least bring it up. Don't assume.
But the positive thing about all of our stories is that we were not cast aside or casted out. Because there's so many of us out there when we come to fruition about who we are.
Kicked out.
Big word. I like those words.
Word of the day is fruition.
But when there's people out there when they come out, they're kicked out.
And I think you made a good point when you said your mother would do anything and fight for you. That's where that real love and understanding is, regardless whether anybody said there was a there was a fable in the Bible, and I think it was with King David, I believe it was, but he had two concubines, and they had a child, but the one woman was barren, but she claimed the other woman's child.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they went to make the decision who was going to keep the child, the one woman said, well, let's split him and we'll both take half. So, but the real baby's mother said, we'll let her have it.
Yeah.
Because she didn't want to see him destroyed.
Yeah.
And split him. And a lot of times we get to that point, I think that's where the parent is really coming through. And I think it's the indoctrination into religion and other people's belief systems that keep us from being who we are and doing what we need to do. Because when the bottom line comes down to it, you're probably going to stick up for your kid.
Yeah. Well, and that's what she feels like she's doing right now.
Yeah.
That's what she feels like she's doing right now against the devil. She's sticking up for her kid. She's fighting for him, for his salvation. So, but you know what? Again, I respect people's opinions. I respect what they think they need to do to be right with the Lord and to be right with their hearts. So, we love everybody here, and I definitely love you, Mama. If you watch him,
and be true to yourself. Be true to
Shout
yourself. You can't help nobody else if you don't love yourself, like you said.
That's right.
That's right.
Follow us on all social media platforms. I can say fruition, but I can't remember platforms. I don't know. Maybe because I associate that with the heels.
Platforms, and that'll help you.
I'm not a club.
you wear them.
Messy. Anyways, see you guys next week. Please tune in, share us, like us, tell people about us. We appreciate all the feedback.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
All right.